Welcome back to the show. It's so good to see you. Hey, I lost my job. So, with that in mind, if you would be so kind as to, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and get a little hype out there because, it would be really nice if I could do this. I like doing this. I'm not very good at it, but we'll get better with time. And hey, if you're along with the ride and you leave a like, you leave a comment, please leave a comment and you subscribe to the channel. I think we can pick up some steam here because we got a lot of good ideas coming. We got a lot of good people so far. And hey, I just checked today and we got a new subscriber. That's so freaking cool. So let's see if we can get some more. The more people, the better, right? Now, I want to talk today about, I've been thinking about this topic for a while. And I think I put out a post on X like forever ago, pondering upon the subject of why it's so common for JRPGs and anime to be set in high school. While I was thinking about that, I think I came to at least some form of conclusion. Maybe not necessarily, just a couple of hypotheses. So I'm going to propose those to you now. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, I'm sure you've noticed, we've all noticed, that many JRPGs and many anime shows or movies, they're all set in a high school setting, whether that be Persona, Danganronpa, Monark, which I think is really, really cool, but nobody else knows much about it. So, Monark. A lot of Trails games. Many of the Trails games are set in or around high school. And anime, we can go through many. I mean, off the top of my head, quintessential quintuplets. That's one off the top of my head. Let's see, what else is there? God, there's so many anime. I guess you'd really say Fairy Tail really is set around that high school age. There's so many. I can't think of everything off the top of my head. I mean, there's even anime. I've never seen it, but it's got high school in the name. I think High School DxD, I think is what it's called. I think it's something about vampires. I don't know. I've never watched it. I'm very picky in my anime, so I don't go like diving into anime until I know kind of what I'm getting into. Yeah, there's a lot of anime. There's a lot of JRPGs. Let's just go with that have that high school senior setting. And I sort of thought, why is it such a focus to have that high school setting? And I thought, well, I think there's a couple of reasons. That's kind of the first hypothesis. It's kind of the last period of our childlike innocence. We grow up so quickly. I mean, I'm looking at my little girl, and she's like, I look at pictures from just 4 years ago to now, and like, she's so big compared to what she was 4 years ago. And, another 4 years from now, she's going to be way bigger. And 4 years after that, she's going to be, in middle school. 4 years after that, she's going to be like waist deep in high school. We grow so quickly that childlike innocence is gone at the blink of an eye. And so I'd like to hypothesize that, in high school, that's the last time that we really have that childlike innocence before we get bombarded by everything that is the world. We don't really have to worry about the politics or the bills or the jobs or the pressures that go on with life in general. That we are not really, it's something that's in the distant future, even when we're a couple of years from it, because it feels like high school just goes on, forever. And I know some people like to think of high school as sort of like the golden years. I honestly don't think so. I mean, we're in a little bit of a rut right now because job loss and all that, but overall, I honestly think this is probably one of the best periods of my life. I have my wife, I have my daughter, we have a couple of dogs. I mean, we just got one of those dogs a couple of months ago, and overall, like, we're doing really well. I think this is the point in my life where I've probably been the happiest, and just in general, I think this is the happiest I've ever been. So looking back at high school, like, obviously that I had a lot of good times and a lot of fun, but it's hardly the point where I would consider it the best point of my life. But it's also the last point in my life that I remember where I wasn't really worrying about a lot of the things that we worry about in life. So I think that's one of the big points, is it's that last period before we have to really worry about the heavy stuff in life. And hypothesis number 2 there's actually time for extracurricular stuff. That's one thing that I've really ran into when you work a job, when you're going to school, like for college and working a job. And even in high school, we work part-time jobs and go to school. It doesn't really feel like there's a lot of extracurricular time, but in high school in general, we have time for clubs, we have time for sports, we have time for friends. We're not worrying about paying bills. We're not worrying about how am I going to deal with mortgage? Like, oh crap, my air conditioning broke down. How am I going to deal with that? Or, in my circumstance, holy cow, my house just flooded. What do I do with that? That happened a couple of years ago. That was terrible. But anyway, those are things we don't worry about in that point of life. That's the things that our parents worry about, right? So we have the time to be with our friends, to do the things that we like doing, to really delve into our hobbies without any backlash of any sort, really. And so I think that's kind of a big thing, is just we have the time for the extracurricular stuff. And my last kind of hypothesis, just with all of this bouncing around my head, is there's a dynamic that I think is very interesting between the sort of mundane that is high school, that we're going through classes, we're sitting in a room and we're writing on paper and we're looking at PowerPoints. Nothing of it is any particularly interesting. I mean, I like learning, but sitting in a wooden chair staring at a PowerPoint screen all day long does not sound very appealing even to me. But you take that dynamic and you cross it with, the joyful times that we have with our friends. We're kicking back at lunch or, during a break during the day when we're not doing anything and we're laughing with our friends. We're talking about just the most ridiculous stuff on the planet and we're all having a good time doing it. And you mix both of those things, the mundane and the joyful, and then you add in a touch of dark and mysterious or macabre, which is definitely something that Persona and Monark delve into. Well, and Danganronpa as well, but Danganronpa is very dark, very, very dark, just in terms of story. Persona is a little more middle, I would think, because there is some dark aspects to it, but it tells the story in a very, I would say, lukewarm way. It isn't overbearing, I suppose is a good way to put it. Whereas if you take Monarch, it is very dark, and it takes a while for things to kind of lighten up a little bit, but there's some comedy in there, but it's very dark humor. And overall, Monarch itself is a very dark game. So, that's kind of overall my thought process on, why we see, and I'm just talking about the games. You look at a lot of TV shows and why they're set in the high school setting, and I think it more touches with the first two, the last period of childlike innocence, and it's the last time that there's any time for any extracurricular activities. Whereas in the video game scene, it's a little more easy to introduce things that are more dark, mysterious, and more macabre, that create an interesting balance between the life sim and the RPG dungeon delving side that we tend to think of when we think of JRPGs. But what do you think? What are your thoughts overall on this? We have the comment section down below. Leave some thoughts, and as is the norm of this channel, we haven't had any comments yet, so please comment what your thoughts are. The idea of this channel is, the good comments that we get, I read them on a follow-up video, and we just have a mini conversation basically over YouTube. The YouTube Marco Polo. You leave some comments, you tell me what you think, I come back with reading those comments, and I tell you what I think about the comments. So, all that said and done, I think we're done with this video. I hope you gave it a like, I hope you gave it a listen, and please share the video, share any thoughts you have, and if you know anyone else that can use a little reprieve from the insanity that is the world these days, hey, bring them over here. We're always happy to have you guys. Max XP is here to lighten the mood for everybody. So, with all that said and done, we'll see you in the next video. Have a good night, or day, or whatever time of day it is for you.